So today we will start a new topic in fluid dynamics, that is about the exact solutions of certain laminar flows of flow of some viscous incompressible fluid. We know that there are Navier-Stokes equations which explains the flow behavior of a fluid, and these Navier-Stokes equations were derived by assuming fluid to be continuous. And we know that these Navier-Stokes equations are nonlinear in nature. Further, these are derived under certain ideal conditions, or you can say for some simple physical problems, the Navier-Stokes equations are applied. Because equations are non-linear partial differential equations, there is no general method to solve these equations. Rather, these equations are used to solve the flow problems confined to some simple geometry, or confined or related to the fluid, which are ideal in nature. So I will use Navier-Stokes equations to certain physical problems to find the flow behavior. And when I consider those flow problems, I'll take certain assumptions. So I can say that I am using the Navier-Stokes equations for some idealized situations. And you may say that whether these idealized situations exist or not, yes. Though we are idealizing our flow problem, still these are applicable to a plenty of problems. For example, we will use these Navier-Stokes equations to find the solution of flow between parallel plates. Parallel plates. Flow between parallel plates. Now, the situation may be that, number one, the plates are non-porous and rigid. Okay. Second situation may be that plates are porous. So these are two situations, which will again be divided into three types of situations, in which the number one is one plate is moving and another at rest, because it is confined between two parallel plates. So one is moving and another is at rest. In second situation, both the plates may be at rest. Both the plates are at rest and pressure gradient exists. In third situation, one plate is moving, another is at rest, and pressure gradient exists. So these are three situations which may be considered for this type of flow or this type of flow. Similarly, there is another situation when we take flow of two immiscible liquids. There are two liquids overlying each other, and these are immiscible. So flow of two immiscible fluids. Now there is another situation in which flow is in a circular pipe. Another is flow is in an annulus created by two pipes at rest. Pipes are at rest. And one another situation is in which flow is in an annulus created by two rotating pipes, and these pipes are circular. Similarly, there may be many more situations which can be solved by the Navier-Stokes equations of motion, and we'll see one by one that how we take certain assumptions to simplify our problem. So first of all, we will take the flow between parallel plates, and then we will discuss it for the three different type of situations which I have written here, that one plate is moving, another is at rest, both the plates are at rest, or one plate is moving and another is at rest, and pressure gradient exists. So I am discussing the first problem, which is flow between parallel plates. Before going to the flow between parallel plates, it is necessary to explain what is laminar flow, because we are going to find out the exact solutions of laminar flows only. So first thing is that what is laminar flow, though this has been explained in classroom lectures. In laminar flow, the first thing is that fluid particles move along straight parallel paths. Straight parallel paths. And second condition is, or you can say that these move in thin sheets or laminas. That is, particles move in thin sheets or lamina. Okay. Now, second property of laminar fluid is that no bulk mixing between different fluid layers. No bulk mixing between different fluid layers. This is second property of laminar fluid. And third is that laminar flow is possible, or it occurs at small velocity, so that viscous force are prominent than the inertia force. You know that inertia force is related to velocity and viscous force is related to viscosity. And when you are saying that laminar flow is important for small velocity fluid, it simply means that viscous force is prominent, or it is more important than the inertia force. And because of the prominence of viscosity, the velocity will change, because viscosity will produce the frictions, it will produce the resistance to the flow, and therefore velocity gradients exist. Velocity gradients exist. That is, shear stresses will be imposed. Why? Because in shear stress, we read that tau is equal to mu du dy. Du dy is existing, velocity gradients are existing. So mu du dy is important, that means shear stresses are imposed. Shear stresses are imposed, producing the resistance. Tau is equal to mu du dy. So these are velocity gradients, and this is viscosity producing the resistance. Viscous force is prominent. So velocity gradient exists, and therefore this shear stress is imposed. And to overcome this type of problem, pressure drops will also exist from section to section in the direction of flow. That means pressure gradient will exist. Though we will take the situations where pressure gradient is 0, but still there are many situations where pressure gradient will exist. So this is these are certain characteristics of laminar flow, and now we will proceed to find the exact solutions of certain laminar flows. First of all, we are taking study laminar flow between two parallel plates. First is study laminar flow between parallel plates. In this problem, the physical situation will be converted into the mathematical model. So first of all, we will see that what is our physical situation. In our physical situation, we have fluid, we have plates, and we have flow. Okay. So first of all, we will see that what are the characteristics of fluid. First of all, fluid is steady. No, flow is a study, not fluid is a study. Fluid is incompressible. You remember what is incompressible fluid? Incompressible with constant density. Or you can say that in this case, your fluid is homogeneous. I told you earlier that incompressibility means, suppose the density of this fluid particle is ρ1, this particle is ρ2, this particle is ρ3. So when this particle moves in the fluid region, it will remain the same. When the particle of density ρ2 moves in the flow region, its density will remain same, ρ3 will remain same, but we are seeing that density is varying from particle to particle, but it is not varying as it is moving in the fluid. It is called the incompressible fluid. But if your density is constant also, it simply means that all the fluid particles are having the same density, and that is why it can be said as homogeneous fluid also. So fluid is incompressible with constant density, say rho. Then second assumption is that fluid is viscous but not of variable density, with constant viscosity mu. Okay, it is viscous but viscosity is constant. Number 3, fluid is incompressible. In all the 3 articles, or rather you can say in all the articles which we are going to discuss in this topic, the properties of the fluid will remain same. So fluid is Newtonian, not incompressible. Fluid is Newtonian. We are not considering, Navier-Stokes equations are applicable for Newtonian fluid only. So our fluid is Newtonian. And fourth condition is fluid is confined between parallel plates. This is the only condition which may change from article to article, but till we are studying the flow between parallel plates, this assumption A4 will remain the same, that it will confine between plates. Now What are the properties of our plates? This is the physical situation. Plates are number 1, infinite in length. This is an assumption. Infinite in length. We take this assumption to avoid the end effects, and this assumption will not affect the qualitative flow solution. Therefore, we may assume the plates to be of infinite length. Then B2, I am writing infinite in length. Okay, smooth, so that roughness coefficients are not to be considered. Number 3, plates are parallel, say situated at z is equal to 0 and z is equal to h. B4, in this first type of flow, we will take the plates to be rigid and non-porous. That means no fluid may pass through them. Okay, so these are rigid and non-porous. The width of, because you are assuming plates to be infinite in length, so the width of the plate is very small. Sorry, width of the plate is very large in compared to the depth of the plates, and therefore we may treat our fluid to be two-dimensional. We may take that variation with respect to z are 0. So we will consider it later. Now C, third number is flow. What are the characteristics of flow? The flow is steady. This is the first characteristic, that is, the properties dependence on time will not be considered. And C2, flow is laminar. We are not going to consider the turbulent flow. Flow is laminar. And velocity is defined as u function of y. Y is the vertical coordinate. There is no velocity in y direction and there is no velocity in z direction. Okay, so this is the physical model. This physical model may be expressed in terms of this figure. This is your x-axis, this is y-axis, this is one plate, this is another plate, and we will take different situations when your plate is moving or your plate is at rest. This is the fluid flowing between these parallel plates. This plate is situated at y is equal to 0 and this at y is equal to h. Rho is the density of the fluid, mu is the viscosity of the fluid. Okay. Now one more assumption is taken in the flow, that flow is free from gravity force. It is free from gravity force or any other body force. This is again an assumption. Whenever we consider the parallel flow, we usually take this assumption that it is free from gravity force. Now this physical model will be converted into the mathematical model, and when you will explain other type of models or physical situations, you have to write the model in this way, so that there should be a clarity while you write the mathematical equations, that which factors you have to consider or which not to consider. First of all, you know that to show that the flow is possible, we see whether the equation of continuity is satisfied or not. First of all, we consider, because the depth of plates is quite small in comparison to width. This implies we may assume delta z to be 0, and so third variable, that means w component of velocity, is also 0. Now what is the equation of continuity? This is the part of mathematical model. Equation of continuity for incompressible fluid, because you have assumed your fluid to be incompressible. It is delta U delta x delta V delta y delta W delta Z is equal to 0. So what is your velocity distribution? This is uy 0 0. It simply means that velocity is varying in vertical direction. It may be increasing or it may be decreasing in vertical direction. In this direction there are velocity variations. Now you see, it is a u, derivative of u with respect to x, but here u is a function of y, so this is 0. V, this is the second component of velocity, this is 0, and w is assumed to be 0, so this is satisfied. This is satisfied, so we can say that flow is possible. In some situations we assume our u, v, w in such a way that this equation should be satisfied. Okay, so here in this situation it is satisfied. Now I am writing equation of motion. As I have considered only two-dimensional flow, I will write equation of motion for x direction and y direction. First of all, I am writing the complete equation of motion. Suppose I am writing for x direction. So Navier-Stokes equation is rho delta u delta t, rho u delta x, rho v delta u delta y, rho w delta z minus delta p delta x plus, because your fluid is viscous with constant viscosity, so this is the viscous force term, delta 2u delta y2 plus delta 2u delta z2. This is equation of motion for x direction. Similarly, if you write it for y direction, these u, this one, this one, this one, oh sorry, this is also u, delta u delta z. This u will be replaced by v. Here it will be minus delta p delta y, and this u will be replaced by v. That will be equation of motion for y direction. Now in your case your flow is steady, so this term will be cancelled. Your rho is constant. U is not a function of x. You see here, u is a function of y. U is not a function of x. U is a function of y, but v is 0. W is 0. Here you are left with 0 is equal to minus delta p delta x plus mu. Now come to this side, delta 2u delta x2, second derivative of u with respect to x not possible, second derivative of u with respect to y2, yes, it is possible. Then second derivative of u with respect to z2 is again not possible. So you are left with this equation. Similarly, if I write for y direction, I am getting 0 because everywhere here will be v and v is already 0. So minus delta p delta y, and then in here mu delta 2 Laplace function on v, and v is already 0. So you are left with delta p delta y is equal to 0. This implies p is not a function of y, it is a function of x alone because of this equation. Okay. Now 3 implies, this is 4, if I differentiate it with respect to x, 3, differentiate 3 with respect to x, I get delta 2p delta x2, second derivative of p plus 0 equal to 0, because this is not a function of x. So p is a single variable function. This implies d2p dx2 is 0, or what is dp dx? dp dx means pressure drop, variation in p. This is constant. This constant may be assumed as either p or minus p. It is on your choice. P means dp dx is positive. That simply means that p is increasing as x is increasing. So as you read the pressure along x-axis, As x will increase, p will increase. And if you are considering minus p, simply means that p is decreasing as you are moving along x-axis. So in this case, we will assume this p to be positive, this case. Okay. In some cases, I will take it minus p, so that you may know that how will we proceed or how will we predict our results. So in equation 3, I will put this value, delta p delta x is equal to p. So it will be minus p plus mu d2u dy2. U is a single variable function, or d2u dy2 is equal to p upon mu. Integrate du dy is p upon mu a plus, it is p upon a, p upon mu y plus some constant of integration. Again integrate, u is equal to p upon mu y square by 2 plus ay plus another constant of integration. So this is the value of u, where a and b are constants which are to be determined as per the physical situation. Now we will consider the first case, according to which our constants will be determined. So first I am writing what is my u. U is equal to p y square upon 2 mu plus ay plus b. This was p. Now I am considering first case. What is first case? Case 1 is take as case. It is case 1. In case 1, I will assume that lower plate is at rest, that is, what is u at the lower plate? 0, at z is equal to 0, and upper plate is moving, that is, there will be some constant velocity of movement of upper plate, say u is equal to capital U at z is equal to h. And the third condition is that there is no pressure gradient, and no pressure gradient exists. That means pressure is constant. No pressure gradient exists. That is, P was the gradient of pressure, so it is 0. It is 0. Pressure gradient is 0. So this is the first case. At this stage, I would like to tell you about the no slip condition. These are your plates. This is u is equal to 0 and this is u is equal to capital U. Now, no slip condition says that the fluid which is just adjacent to the plate will also move with the same velocity. It is not possible that the plate will slip over the fluid or the fluid will slip over the plate. If the plate is at rest, the adjacent fluid particle will move with the same velocity. This is the no slip condition. Similarly, if this plate is moving, then the fluid particles adjacent to it or the fluid layer adjacent to it will also start to move with the same velocity. The plate may not slip over the fluid. This is the no slip condition, which is very important for our mathematical analysis. That is why I have written lower plate is at rest, that means u is 0, so adjacent fluid layer will also be at 0, and upper plate is moving. So you can say that if your fluid, this is the position of certain fluid particles, so because this plate is at rest, this fluid particle will remain here, but this is moving, so after certain time this fluid particle will reach to this point, it will transfer the momentum, next fluid layer will move with some relative velocity, not the same. So therefore the fluid particle which is here will reach somewhere here, which is here will reach somewhere here, and because this fluid particle will remain here, so you will get a velocity profile like this. But we will prove it with the help of mathematics that yes, this is the velocity profile described by this fluid. So these are the boundary conditions. Now I will use these boundary conditions to find the solution. First of all, what is the name of this physical situation? This is the case of plane Coite flow. This you have to remember very well, that this is plane Coite flow. Okay. Under 8, what u becomes? U is equal to ay plus b. Okay. Now the boundary condition 6 implies u is 0 when y is 0, so you get b. This implies b is also 0. So this converts to 9 converts to u is equal to ay. Further, the 7th boundary condition implies that u is equal to capital U when y is equal to h. So this implies a is equal to u upon h. So finally you get your velocity distribution. You put the value of b and a, or rather you put the value of a here, and you get the velocity distribution of this flow. You may be asked just the velocity distribution. Velocity distribution u is equal to u y upon h. So you see that this is a linear curve with the two variables u and y. So this is the linear curve. This is the linear curve described by this velocity distribution. If you put y is equal to 0, your u is 0. So this is the point. If you put y is equal to h, you are getting u is equal to u. This is this point after certain time. So this is the velocity profile. This is the velocity profile. This is your velocity profile. Okay. Now we proceed further. First of all, in these flow problems, in some flow problems you will be asked about pressure distribution. In some flow problems you will be asked maximum velocity or average velocity or shearing stress. So I'll calculate one by one. Where your u will be maximum. This maximum value of u may be found from this 10 directly. You see that when the u is maximum, the minimum value of u is 0. The maximum value of u is attained when y is equal to h. So u maximum is equal to capital U. This is the maximum velocity, and it occurs at y is equal to h. This is very simple in this case. Otherwise we calculate it by the method of maxima and minima. Then I come to what is u average. Next is u average. What is the average velocity? The formula for it is flux upon area. So your cross section is this much. This is the cross section h, and this is the flux u dy for the limits 0 to h. So this is equal to 1 upon h, 0 to h. Value of u is here u y upon h dy. This is u upon h square, and this y will be y square by 2 for the limits 0 to h. So it is u by 2. This is the average value of velocity u by 2. Now we come to another property, which is the shearing stress. Here you can also find the flux. Flux is equal to 0 to h u dy. This is the flux. and if you calculate it, you will get it by 2h. Okay, this is the flux. Now next is shearing stress. You know that in this situation your shearing stress is mu du dy. You may give it name tau xy, or you may say it to be sigma xy, whatever you like. So I'll get what is shearing stress. So sigma xy is equal to mu du dy means variation. U was your u was u upon h y. So du dy will be u upon h. This is the value of shearing stress. Now we find what is skin friction. Skin friction means what is the resistance or the friction at the walls. This is skin. Skin means what is the resistance at the walls. So to find its value, we get sigma xy at the wall. Skin friction means sigma xy at x is equal as first wall is y is equal to 0 and y is equal to h. Because your shearing stress is free from any y, so it will remain same. So this may be the question that show that the skin friction for this situation is same at the two plates. Next comes the coefficient of friction. Coefficient of skin friction or coefficient of friction, and it is found by dividing the skin friction with dynamic energy loss. Energy loss is 1 by 2 rho u average square. This is the formula of kinetic energy. So we divide this skin friction by the kinetic energy found with the help of average velocity, because it will give you the average energy loss. So this is formula for it. And coefficient of friction may again be calculated at the two walls. That means at y is equal to 0 and y is equal to h. So it will be, what is your sigma xy? Sigma xy is mu u upon h, and this is half rho u average. U average was u by 2, so it is u square by 4. So finally it is 8 mu upon rho h u. It is independent of y. It is for y is equal to 0 and y is equal to h. It is independent of y, so again it is same. So it is again same for the two walls. And many times this coefficient of friction is asked in terms of the u average. That means what is the relation with the u average. So at times you can find it in terms of u average also. For example, if in this expression I put this is equal to mu, or I'll write here u by 2. I may write it from here. You see, this may be written as twice into 4 mu upon rho h u. ठीक, and this is 4 mu upon rho h u by 2. U by 2 is average velocity, so 4 mu upon rho h u average. So at times it is also asked in terms of u average. This is the coefficient of friction. Likewise, you may be asked Reynolds number. What is the Reynolds number? Reynolds number is rho L u upon h, mu. In this case, this will become rho. L means linear dimension, which is h. U means what is your velocity profile. Velocity profile is u. This u is not the u considered here. This u means velocity. So velocity is u y upon h upon mu. This h is cancelled with this h. You are left with rho u y upon mu. This is your Reynolds number. You may find the Reynolds number at the two plates. At y is equal to 0 it is 0, and at y is equal to h you get the Reynolds number value rho u upon mu. So in this way you may be asked these different properties of, or the different parameters involved in your flow or affecting your flow. So this is all about plane Coite flow. Now we come to another case in which the conditions are changed. Now we come to case 2. In case 2 you are having two plates. So in case 2, first property is that both the plates are at rest. So what are the boundary conditions in this case? U is 0 at y0, and second U is 0 at yh, because both the plates are at rest. And second condition is that pressure gradient exists. Because in this case the movement or the flow in the fluid is not because of plates, it is because of the difference in pressure. Because pressure gradient exists, it simply means that dp dx exists. dp ds was assumed to be, we have assumed dp dx to be p. We may assume it minus p as well. So it means that there are variations in pressure, and because there are variations in pressure there will be the flow will be produced in the fluid. So here the cause of flow is pressure gradient. Okay, so this is the situation, and this situation is known as plane Poiseuille flow. You should not be confused between plane Poiseuille flow or the Hagen-Poiseuille flow. I would teach you later that there is Hagen-Poiseuille flow, that is a Poiseuille flow in cylinder. And whenever I say plane Poiseuille flow, it simply means it is a flow between two parallel plates. So please do not be confused between Hagen-Poiseuille or the plane Poiseuille flow. Now I will apply these boundary conditions for my u. What was u? U was obtained as u is equal to py square upon 2 mu plus ay plus b. This I have already calculated, and in your previous article, in the previous case, you were reached to number, just a minute, u maximum was this much, u average was u by 2, then q, this is 13, then shearing stress 14, skin friction 15, coefficient of friction एक फॉर्म ये है, this is 16, this is 17, and this is Reynolds number 18. So now we are at this equation u. I am giving it name 19 because I am starting from here. Apply this condition. When I say u is equal to 0, I'll say it 19, and this as 20, and I'll not number it. Okay, now what 19 implies? 19 implies 0 is equal to, y is 0 so it is 0, y is 0 so it is 0, b is equal to 0, or u is obtained as py square upon 2 mu plus ay. Okay, now 20 implies u is 0 at y is equal to h, u is 0 at y is equal to h, pH. So from here I may get the value of A. A is equal to minus pH upon 2 mu. So put this A and finally get U. Put the value of A in this equation. So U is equal to py square upon 2 mu minus pH upon 2 mu y. This is your final velocity distribution in this case. You see here U is equal to py something into y square minus something into y. So it is a parabolic distribution and parameters are u and y. So it is a parabolic curve. Parabolic in nature. Okay. Now again in this case we will find what is u maximum. So for u maximum or minimum from 21 I'll put du dy is equal to 0. So this implies I'll differentiate it py upon mu minus pH upon 2 mu is 0. So I get the value of y is equal to h by 2. This is the point where I'll get the maximum velocity of u. So you can check by taking the second derivative that it will give you the maximum velocity. And so u maximum is, put the y is equal to h by 2 here, p h square upon 8 mu minus ph into h by 2, so 4 mu. So you get u maximum to be ph square minus ph square upon 8 mu. This is the maximum value of velocity. Okay, because it is minus, so it is showing the backflow. Okay, now what is u average? For u average I'll go to the next page. What is u average? U average was cross sectional area से divide करें 0 to h u dy, that means flux divided by cross sectional area. So it will be 1 upon h 0 to h. Put the value of u was py square upon 2 mu minus phy upon 2 mu dy. You just integrate it, put the limits 0 to h, and you will get its value to be 2 by 3 u maximum. Actually you will get its value in terms of I'm writing here, its value will be minus ph square upon 12 mu. You may convert its value in this term because many times it is asked that what is the relation between u average and u maximum, and this relation may be asked in any problem. Okay, so finally you get that u average is equal to 2 by 3 u maximum. On previous sheet 21, then you got u maximum. This is 22. So now we are at 23. This is 23. This may also be used, you may give it number 23, and this is 24. Okay, this is u average. You may get u flux divided by h by the u flux will be you multiply it by h and you will get the u flux. Now next is shearing stress. Which will be sigma xy, and this is mu du dy by formula. So it is mu. Now du dy will be any derivative of u, this will be py upon mu minus ph upon 2 mu. p may be taken outside and mu will be cancelled, so it is p y minus h by 2. Now you can get skin friction. This simply means value of sigma xy at the two walls. So at y is equal to 0, it is minus ph by 2, and sigma xy at y is equal to h. You will put h here and solve. So ph by 2. This is skin friction. You may be asked skin friction in terms of U average. You may be asked any relation between the two properties. So this is 26 and this is 27. You may be asked that what is the relation between sigma xy and U average. Okay, so you find yourself that what is the relation. This relation will be asked between shearing stress and average velocity. Now Reynolds number, RE, Reynolds number is rho h U average upon mu. So this will be calculated as minus rho p h cube upon 12 mu square. Correct? I have calculated Reynolds number with the help of U average. In previous article also you may calculate Reynolds number with the help of U average. So this is all about this flow problem, or you can say for this case when both the plates are at rest and pressure gradient was existing. Now we come to the third case of this problem, in which your plates are non-porous. In case 3, we assume that one plate is moving, one plate is at rest. Let the plate situated at z is equal to 0 is at rest, and a plate is moving. That simply means which plate? Z, which is at z is equal to h. Above plate is moving, and simultaneously p is non-zero. In the previous article it was 0. In case 1 p was 0, in case 1 p was 0, and the plate situation of the plate was same. In second case both the plates were at rest but p was existing, and in third case p is existing, that means gradient of p is existing, that means variations, there are variations in pressure, and as well as one plate is moving and another plate is at rest. So this implies that u is 0 at z is equal to 0. This implies u is equal to capital U at z is equal to h, and third is that p is not equal to 0. So now we are with 29, this is 29, this is 30, and this is the condition 31. Up we will calculate our u for these boundary conditions. For u is equal to py square upon 2 mu plus ay plus b. If I use 29, I put u is equal to 0, y is equal to 0, y is equal to 0. So 29 implies that b is 0. So you are left with p is equal to py square upon 2 mu plus ay. Now 30 implies that u is equal to u at y is equal to h square. Y is equal to h. So from here you will get a is u minus ph square upon 2 mu divided by h. This is the value of a. Now I put this value of a to get final u. u is obtained as py square upon 2 mu plus uy upon h minus phy upon 2 mu. This is the velocity distribution for this case. You can very well see that this is the combination of case 1 and case 2. In case 1 you get this velocity distribution, and in case 2 you get this velocity distribution. So it is the combination of two. Now we will calculate different properties. First of all, I'll write it in some standard manner. I would write it as u upon capital U. U upon capital U will be py square upon 2u mu plus y upon h minus phy upon 2 mu u. Okay, I'll write it as y upon h this term plus alpha y upon h, and in the bracket I'll have 1 minus y upon h, where what is this alpha? Alpha is assumed as minus h square p upon 2 mu u. This is an assumption, because when I rewrite this equation after certain mathematical manipulations, I'll get y upon h plus, in place of this alpha I'll get this expression and then this expression. So I have assumed this expression as alpha, and you may very well see that this alpha is a non-dimensional parameter. This is a non-dimensional parameter. This is true. Okay. Now you see here your alpha is greater than 0. In this case, what the p was assumed? I think p was taken as, we have taken dp dx is equal to, let me check. What I assumed p to be in the starting. I have assumed p to be dp dx. Yes, this dp dx was assumed to be positive p. Yes, dp dx was positive p. Okay. So dp dx was positive p. So alpha will be greater than 0 if p is negative, and alpha is less than 0 if p is positive. Okay, this is an important expression, and with the help of this we will calculate all properties like u maximum, u minimum, u average, shearing stress, skin friction, Reynolds number and all. So I think as I calculated it for case 1 and case 2, similarly you will calculate it for case 3. You calculate all the things like you will calculate u average, u maximum, then sigma xy, then sigma xy at the two walls, y is equal to 0 and y is equal to h. You also calculate Reynolds number and calculate skin friction. Okay, you have to do all these. Your u average will be u by 6 3 plus alpha. You calculate yourself. Your u maximum will be u 1 plus alpha square upon 4 alpha. Sigma xy will come out to be mu u upon h 1 plus alpha minus 2y alpha upon h. Skin friction at the two walls, one will be mu u upon h 1 plus alpha, and another will be mu u plus h 1 minus alpha. This is the skin friction. Then this is the skin friction. So you may also calculate coefficient of friction and then Reynolds number. Coefficient of skin friction in terms of U average. So first I calculate the coefficient of skin friction. This will be 12 mu 1 minus alpha. For one wall it will be 1 plus alpha, and then rho h alpha plus 3 u average, and for another wall it will be 12 mu 1 minus alpha upon rho h alpha plus 3 u average. And Reynolds number will come out to be, this is the Reynolds number. Reynolds number will come out to be h upon mu rho u average. Okay, so you calculate all these things yourself. You may also calculate Q, that means volumetric flow, with the help of U average. You just multiply this U average by H, cross sectional area. So U H upon 6 3 plus alpha. These all things you have to calculate yourself. Okay, and you can very well apply these results or these methods to calculate the flow problems. For example, I am considering just one problem to show you that how we calculate different parameters in a flow problem. For example, water is flowing at 20 degrees Celsius between two large parallel plates at a distance 1.5 millimeter apart. If the average velocity is 0.15 meter per second, this is the average velocity, then evaluate number 1 maximum velocity, number 2 pressure drop, number 3 wall shearing stress, and number 4 frictional coefficient. So first of all you have to recognize that what type of flow is it. Okay, you see water is flowing between two large parallel plates, so it is the flow between parallel plates. Average velocity is given, maximum velocity is asked, as well as pressure drop is asked. It simply means that pressure drop yani pressure gradient is existing. So it is the case of Poiseuille flow. For Poiseuille flow, first of all it is the case of Poiseuille flow. The reason being, in this case it is not given that at what velocity the plates are moving. It simply means that plates are at rest, pressure gradient is existing. So combining the two facts, it becomes case of Poiseuille flow. First of all, H is given, but H is given in terms of millimeter, so I'll convert it into meter. So I'll divide it by 1000, it becomes meter, so 0.0015 meter. Now average velocity is given. Average velocity is given as 0.15 meter per second. First of all, maximum velocity is asked. Maximum velocity or u maximum is given by 3 by 2 u average. So just multiply and get your u maximum. 0.45 upon 2 meter per second. Now we know that you may also find pressure drop with the help of u average. There is a formula that u average is equal to minus p h square upon 12 mu. Okay, so what is your pressure? Pressure is equal to minus 12 mu u average upon minus h square. You just put the values. In this case, viscosity is also given. Viscosity is given as mu. Evaluate if mu is equal to 1.01 gram per second. So convert it also in kilogram per second. So it will be 1.01 divided by 1000 kilogram per second. You just put the value of mu, just put the value of h and u average. U average is given, and you will get your pressure drop, and your pressure drop come out to be minus 808 Newton per meter cube. Similarly, wall shearing stress is asked. So what is your sigma xy? From the article at y is equal to 0, it was minus 6 mu upon h u average. Again put all the values. Minus 6 into 1.01 into 10 raised to the power minus 3. This is the viscosity. And then 0.0015. And what is u average? U average is given as 0.15. Calculate, you will get minus 0.606 again Newton per meter square. This is at y is equal to 0. Wall shearing stress is asked. So you have to find sigma xy at y is equal to h as well. For that it will be 6 mu upon h u average. So you will get this with plus symbol, 0.606 Newton per meter square. Now frictional coefficient may also be calculated. Cf is minus 144 mu square upon rho h cube p. Put all the values and again get it as 0.0538. So in this way you can use all the formulas to find the different properties involved in a flow problem. So this is all about this flow between parallel plates when your plates are non-porous. So in the next lecture we will see how the flow will be described when the fluid is confined between two porous plates. So thank you all.